man don't know shit.
Hey guys, how you doing? Well, it's been a while. Had to take a little break, moved, so I'm gonna put together a new studio here. But you know what? It's time. It's time to get back to a little bit of normal anyway, or whatever normal you can find out there. And this is episode 26. I'm super happy to have Mr. Paul Cargnello on the show today. Paul has been playing in Montreal for a long, long time. Used to have a band called the Vendettas. Then he went on to a solo career, both in French and English, and much, much more. And yeah, just can't wait to get on this. So listen, the PayPal link is underneath for the Be a Producer program. Any donation, whether it's 25 cents and higher, you'll be credited as a producer of the next episode. That's a direct way to support the show here. And don't forget to hit subscribe to the channel. It really does help. And let's do this. Yay!
Boom! K-Man don't know shit.
And we are on. Paul, how are you doing, brother?
Doing okay under the circumstances.
Yeah, it's quite the time we're living in, eh?
I know,
Who would have thought this?
I know.
It's been
crazy.
You're at home right now in your family home and stuff, right? Has the curfew started yet?
It has 8 o'clock and Montreal's in lockdown.
Man, it's crazy. Have you seen some of the images around town, like ghost town, right?
Yeah, I know. It's I never thought this was going to happen in Montreal. I didn't think it was plausible, but of course, all the half measures up until now has led to this, you know?
Well, that's it. You know, it's funny. Right before going on here, I was seeing some friends, and everybody has different points of view and really a lot of frustration. And I understand how everybody feels. But like you say, I mean, you know, at this point, I'm not sure if it's the be all end all and the cure or anything like that. But I mean, yeah, something's got to happen. At least they're trying. You know what I mean? I'm not saying they got it right or anything like that, but there is no.
No. It's there's no easy way out of this thing. It's just, you know, I feel like if if the cat government hadn't been doing so many, like I said, half measures, it's like the idea is it's every time that they notice like, oh, we should do something. They're like, well, you know, people haven't finished their Christmas shopping, so we better let them, you know, it's like if we had just done this in December or originally, if we had done a real lockdown, we would be in a very different situation.
I always wonder, like, if we did a real lockdown right at the start, like what would happen? I mean, if everything was 100% lockdown for say 3 weeks, because, you know, to allow for that 2-week period when people aren't sure, like what would have happened? I don't know. But, you know, as far as like staying open and half measures for the economy, I'm not sure that really worked out in their favor in the end, you know?
I know. I love all these, like, I've heard about these countries that did like a pause and they like, nobody had to pay rent. Nobody had to pay their mortgage. Everybody, like everything's like, just keep going. It's just like, and nobody's going to lose money. We're just going to pause for a moment.
Yeah.
I think that was that sounds like the most compassionate way forward. But of course, you know, nobody does that.
Exactly. And I mean, like, you know, it's funny. It's one of these times where you can't ignore politics either. You know, I mean, even if you want to, you know, because like what a time, no matter what decision is made, you know, probably half the population is going to be really pissed off, you know, no matter what's done.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But no, we're living history. That's for sure.
Well, that's what I keep reminding myself, you know, it's like, even watching all this stuff happen in the States, it's kind of like, it's as scary as it feels and as like tumultuous as it is and how frustrated I am. Sometimes I'm like sitting here yelling at the Twitter feed. It's interesting to be living through a time that is, I think, going to be really historically interesting. Like people are going to be like, in like 30 years, we're going to be looking back at this going like, holy shit, we were there.
Well, that's it. I mean, this is going to be spoken about. I mean, just look what's happened. This pandemic, the States, the whole world. I mean, really, it's not isolated to North America either. I mean, the whole world is going to be talking about it for a very long time, you know. And, you know, some countries tried one strategy, another. Like, you can't really even judge that much. I mean, as long as you're convinced they're trying. I mean, in some cases, maybe they aren't trying, and that can be frustrating and upsetting and all that, and rightfully so. But, you know, just right now, it's just everybody's got to fucking breathe a little bit too, right? Like, I'm sensing the panic, the anger, the anxiety. You know, it's fucked up, man. Hey, Big D, he's the first, right, ever? 2 times he won. the impeachments.
Yeah. He's a unique case of God, like god awful politicians. I can't even, because listen, like I'm a political artist, so like half the time I'm like I got arts on the brain, and the other half of the time it's politics. But like I can't even believe it took this long. What I'm shocked by is how for Americans to like just understand the gravity of what a jackass, what a piece of shit Donald Trump is. Like it took this long for it to all forget. And everybody's talking about, oh, well, why do it now? There's only 7 days left. Well, Jesus, we should have done this day one. That man was espousing fascist views from the beginning of his term. We should have known, and we should have done something. Anyway, I've been posting a lot about it. Like,
I don't know about you, but I know like the obsession too. I mean, it's hard not to when everything's so fun. I can't tell how many times I posted something, I get all, in my moment. I go back and I delete it because I don't want it on my fucking page.
Yeah,
and I try to clear my mind a bit, I
know, all the bad vibes. Plus you find out how many weird QAnon friends you have. You're like, how the hell, how in the fuck did some QAnon idiot end up being my friend? I have no idea. But that's what sometimes I do it just to find out, and then I'm like, okay, quietly delete.
I always said that's the one good thing about this whole Donald Trump fiasco thing. It's, the racists, everybody knew it existed. To what point? I don't think people really realized, to what point. Everybody wants to feel good. Everybody wants to be a little bit in denial just to survive their daily routine or whatever it is. But this motherfucker drew them all out,
Yeah, it was like a litmus test.
2 seconds. Yeah.
It's
exactly.
like we saw everybody's true colors for like a couple moments there, But But I mean, like I watched the whole impeachment thing today, and it was just like the whole time I'm just sitting there and like I'm such a frustrated. I've reached such a level of frustration that I'm like, I want to just reach in the screen every Republican and just shake the shit out of them. Anyway, it's worthless here. It's basically just like it's like watching the circus. You know what I mean? Like,
that's it. Like I always said right at the start, like of this whole thing. I mean, I personally, I think a lot of people voted for him just for the pure entertainment value, but didn't think the entertainment would turn into a fucking, come with consequences, let's say. But I always said, like, who the hell wants to fucking have the richest spoon-fed pieces of shit of the world as leaders? You know what I mean? Like, just at that's what I don't really get, because like I'm sure a lot of, and I don't want to just zero in on Donald Trump because it's almost too easy, you know what I mean? But like,
there's the Mitch McConnells and all the other Republican, like billionaire Republicans, for sure.
And in other countries and other leaders and all this, but like when people start voting for these rich people that never knew fucking, boots on the ground life, and stuff like that. It's like, how can this person ever be a leader for the people as opposed to a leader? Because everybody's going to be a leader to who's around them, right? But if they're growing up with fucking, the head of Walmart or Jean Couture even, or whatever it is, if that's your people, I mean, that's who you're going to be representing at the end of the day. Because
if you're that out of touch, right, you shouldn't even be able to run for politics. And, this is my, I said this to somebody once and they were like, oh, that's so discriminatory. And I was like, I do discriminate slightly against the very ultra rich who are completely out of touch, and complete dimwits. Those are the two people that I discriminate against. Really stupid people, I hate them. And really, really, really rich people, I hate them. So there's like a true hatred that's, I don't trust them.
I got you. You got that fire burning, man. That fire.
Yeah.
Absolutely. How are you? The family? Everybody's okay? Everybody's safe?
Yeah. Everybody's good. We're super lucky. I mean, kids are back at school, so you're taking a lot of risk there. But I'm super, super lucky to have the job that I have. I mean, I make my own schedule. I own a recording studio in the back of my house. So it's like, I never go that far. I don't have to leave very far. My wife can work from home. So it's been, in a way, it's been easy. It's just the hardest part, I think, is like,
and putting on your pants.
Yeah, no. That part I can get done. It's the motivation to like, because like I'm a very creative person. I actually over this period of time I released several EPs. Like I released a whole bunch of stuff. I did collaborations and I'm working with a lot of people. But the thing is, like, what's really hard is putting things on hold. Do you know what I mean? Like, cause I would have released a record in 20, like I had it all ready to go. Like I'm always working on the next thing. And so it's just having to press pause on something that it's like, well, now this is something that I wanted to release last year and I'm going to think about doing it this year. You know, it's like, and not being able to tour and not being able to promote and not being able to plan. That's been really hard. Because like in the music industry, we're always like planning the next thing, and you got to think 6 to 8 months ahead, right? You never like, so, but even now, like there's a lot of like, I had contracts where I was going to be producing somebody or working with an artist, or like they were going to be putting out a record in April. Well, that's not happening anymore. Like nobody's planning for anything. We're all just going like, we're waiting for that moment when everybody goes, okay, go ahead. You can go see the world and tour and gig. And not only that, just be in the studio. Like it's not safe to be in the studio with 5 people, you know, it's just not safe. So it's not happening and nobody can do anything. And that is, to me, the most frustrating shit in the world. Just like not being able to do fuck all.
You and pretty much all my friends, because most of my friends are musicians and doers, you know what I mean? People that do shit. And it's funny because you touched on 2 subjects that I want to bring up. One is because myself, I'm in the process of writing a new record right now. And you brought up motivation. It's a bit harder than normal to be motivated right now, you know, because like say, you know, we always have to plan 6-8 months. Like right now, we're booking shows that I don't know will happen or not. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to be motivated for that shit, you know?
Oh yeah. I mean, I had a booking agency just sign me. Like this was in 2020 because I was forming like a really cool new band and things were really coming together. And I was like, all right, that's it. I got a 3-piece, 4-piece small touring unit ready to go. Great musicians. And everything, like I was booking lots of dates and everything was canceled.
Yeah. No, I feel you, man.
It's like one of those things where you're just like, okay, it would have been a different year, but at the same time, like we're all in the same boat. And the fact that our job allows us to kind of play with time a little, like, you know, we can stretch things out. Who I feel the most bad for, I like in the arts, at least in the music scene, especially, are people who are kind of on that borderline that weren't making a living off of music yet, just quite yet. You know what I mean? Like they were just there. It's like to coast for an entire year. When I was talking about litmus tests, you know, like this is one of those litmus tests for artists who are like,
absolutely,
you know, like we're like either like you're like the do-it-yourself, you could figure this shit out, you could find a way to coast, you're gonna find the little other avenues to make income, or you're gonna drown in this. Like you got to figure some other plan out. You got to go ask your parents for money, or you got to get a job. You know, this is it. This like who can coast for 2 years without?
That's what it's looking at. Like, you know, like you were saying though, it's like we're all going through the exact same thing. Every person that I've had on this show pretty much has been a musician. Not everyone, but 98%. You know, and we're all doing the same thing. Like, you know, it's like whether you're DIY or just trying to move to the next level or make a move, like you were talking about, you know, signing with new booking agency. We were on the road. We had to come all the way home, and you know, we put all the money out for a tour and it stopped before it really got going. So we couldn't recollect, and signed with Covert in the US and stuff. But now, you know, everything's up in the air. And when do you put out an album through all this? Because you don't want to waste an album as well without touring behind it and all this shit, man. I feel for all my brothers and sisters, you know.
You know, it's weird. It's a weird time because there are a lot of eyes on the online stuff. Like every time I release something now, it's like the views get shot up super quick. And I'm realizing that people are truly online a lot. So there's a little bit of an advantage. I wonder whether releasing songs has been good or successful. I'll know in like 6 months, you know, I guess. Yeah. When all the retroaction comes back to you. But I don't know. Like I've stopped making any predictions, and I'm just like, I've stopped worrying about it. I'm like, when things come back together, I'll be ready to run and roll with roll with the punches, you know?
Yeah, well, that's it. Like, kind of like relationships. How many relationships broke up through COVID? All of a sudden these couples have to be side by side in a house for months at a time. It's like the relationship was cool before that. But same thing for bands too. I mean, like, a lot of people love being in a band, but are they, still going to work and hold on and see for another year and what's up? Or do you fucking go to school and get a real job? You know what I mean?
I know. This is
really
the
test,
moment.
like you're saying. Yeah, man, absolutely. I like that. It is a test, and it will separate, the people that are doing it as, just who they are and can never stop, versus those that were kind of on the fence, but want other types of security, which I totally understand.
Me too. I'm not judging people's decisions, but it's just, it's one of those, like, the divide between the hugely successful artists and the sort of the smaller artists is getting really big. Anybody in the middle it falls on one end or the other quite quickly these days. It's not like it used to be. There used to be a big fat middle where you could kind of exist. You could have a moderate amount of success and make a living, sort of, and like figure it out. Well, that middle is disappearing. Either you fall
right now, yeah, man. Absolutely. What's interesting, you're talking about like how many people are online. I would love to see the statistic. If we took all the population of Canada, let's say, okay, and on their phones, they always have the app and it shows how much screen time they have used, right? I'd love to see if you added up everybody's screen time into one in 2000 and, or since the pandemic started compared to 2019, let's say. I mean, it's, it'd be fucking interesting. Everybody's going to have to run and go get glasses because they can't see anymore and shit,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But have you done any of these live shows at all? Like live on internet type shows?
Yeah, I did. So I did a couple of them, and they all went rather well. Like because I opened the Fringe Fest this year, which was great. And the Fringe Fest always has a pretty good following. I did the one man band festival. They were doing some online shows, but I did one way at the end of the year. Like finally, I actually filmed it at a venue, and I got the band together and we played one really big show, and that was a lot of fun because it was like the lockdown had been lifted quite a bit, and so we were allowed to be on stage together, but we had to be distanced. So we were really far from each other. It was an awkward show because you couldn't move left and right. You could just stay like where you are. But it was nice to play on a live stage. There was no audience. But when it broadcast, a lot of people signed in. It was really nice. Like I always thought, I'll be totally honest. Okay. The one thing that I don't miss, is touring in the sense that I've never really liked being, I'm kind of a homebody. I don't like being away that much. I love being in the studio. I love being able to get home and have supper with the family, I don't like being away. I don't like calling my son, you know what I mean? Like from like hours and hours away and calling him to say goodnight. I always feel bad about that. But the thing is, like, I do realize that I do enjoy performing. You know what I mean? Like I don't miss. Maybe I don't miss like the crashing on shitty couches and bad hotel rooms and like not like having to argue with a promoter or whatever because we didn't bring enough people like all the stupid shit that happens when touring. It's like I don't miss any of that, but I do miss some of the performance because when we did this show, I was like, oh wow, that was a lot of fun. And
that's the hour and a half in that day that made everything else worthwhile, right?
Yeah, and it was really nice. So I do miss performing a bit, and often I'll say like I don't miss performing at all. Well, I do a little bit, But I'm so fortunate because of this the built-in studio. Like at this point, like all I've been doing is recording albums, and I'm recording music and just like honing in on that craft and. I'm getting really, really sharp at this. You know what I mean? Like I'm becoming a producer in a way that it kind of sped up that process. I'm really spending a lot of time and like recording and dicking around in the studio and figuring shit out and figuring my space out really, really profoundly. So it's been that in that way. I've made this time useful at least.
Well, that's it. Like, I mean, you're a lucky person in the sense that you're a person that seems to always have a project on the go. You know what I mean? So for some people, this is almost like, like a blessing just to have some time You know what I mean? Like, I understand that, but I find the duration now is different. Like, for instance, I did some of these internet shows as well. I did the one-man band thing 3-4 times or something at the start of the pandemic in the first wave. It was kind of fun, and it was summertime, you know. I had my Hawaiian shirt on and sun's shining out, smoking the spliff. I'm doing my thing and feeling good. Did one other solo one not too long ago. It was a different feeling. I'm just like, okay, I've done this, and you know, you might even be doing some of the same songs or whatever. It's like there's not a crowd there to make it feel differently. That was a bit harder.
There's some online exhaustion too. I think people are getting like a little fed up. Like every time you go, I have another EP, I have another online show. It's like people are like, who gives a shit? You know, like I got like you did one example. 2 months ago.
Dude, check this out. Remember that phase? Okay, and I've done it myself too. I did it like 3 times, but everybody's making the Zoom videos, right, of their song, and everybody's playing at their home, and you know, putting together. That was like everywhere, right? Like every day there was like 4 or 5 new ones.
Yep.
Have you seen one lately? I saw one this week compared to like, you know, 50 in the first wave. Everybody's burnt the fuck out on that shit. And it's cool for 5 seconds too, because even as a viewer, they all look the same. Yeah, the music's different and you like it and you dig it, you know, but I think there's a lot of burnout, and basically is what I'm saying as well, you know.
Oh, there's without a doubt there's burnout. But you know what? Honestly, I think even the creative process, I think you might be right, you know, about it's kind of slowing down. Like in the sense that like, okay, look, I've been working in the studio. So the technical side, I'm really working it. It's cool. But I've noticed one thing, like I am an explosively creative person. Okay. So I write, in a typical year, I'll write, you know, 3 to 4 poems, which could easily become lyrics for a song a day. And I will write maybe 3 or 4 songs a week. Okay. So this is like, and this is to completion. Like I will complete a demo if in case, who knows, you want to send it to somebody or whatever. Yeah. So I'm constantly writing. And, in the last little while, I got to admit, like I'm looking at my poetry. And I've always been driven by the lyrics first, and I'm looking at my lyric books, my poetry books. You know, in the old days, I would, you know, at the end of the day, I'd finish something at 2-3 in the morning, at 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever, and I would go to a bar and have a pint and just watch the world go by me and write, like compose. Basically, I'd sit there and write a song or write lyrics to something. But I'm looking at my poetry books, and I'm like telling you, like the output is like 1/5 of what it was the year where I was able to go out and observe the world and get inspired. Well, I'm writing definitely a lot less. It's just because like there's less interaction.
I'm so fucking with you, man. And which makes me think, I think it was in Asia, somewhere in Asia at first, when like, I'm going back years ago when they used to say, you know, people are more productive when they have some off time, even during the day, and they, you know, allowed some employees to have a nap or whatever it is, or go to a bar and have a pint, you know. But it really shows that when you take those things away, even though you have more time to work, you're not necessarily producing more, right?
Exactly. And isn't that the difference? Isn't that like I'm not an introvert, right? So I think it maybe just is about like what you feel energized by. You know, introverts are like when they get home, they get re-energized and they get away from people. You know, a party will stress them out. For me, I need people around me constantly. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, I do, man. I only need like 4 or 5 hours alone. The rest of the time I want it to feel like a party all the time. That's when I feel inspired. That's when I write. That's when I create. That's when I can't.
I don't creative when you're living life, my friend.
Exactly. And so, and honestly, like I can see it just slipping away a bit because I have less stories to tell, you know, it's an unusual moment. I mean, it'll all come back, right? And one day we'll even be able to write about this. But it's just like
here, check this out. This is one of the things I kind of pre-prepared that I wanted to talk to you specifically about, but we're already opening up the subject. Now, you know, when I said, okay, I'm writing a song, a new album, I noticed the first 3 songs, one's called 59 Chevy, I'm primed to go. It's all about being locked up too long. I need to get the fuck out. Another one is called I'm Best When I'm on the Road. You see where I'm going, right? Like, but I'm kind of, I don't want to write every song in this album about being, you know, stuck in and wanting to get back on the road and all this kind of thing. So as a songwriter that has later on, I do want to go over this also, kind of your backstory, but I know you've been in bands. I know you've sang in French. I know you sing in English. I know you do solo stuff. I know you work with other artists. I know you produce. I know you record. You do all kinds of amazing shit. Okay. Now,
thank you.
When you are in a rut, because it's not true that we're always constant, right? What tricks do you have when you're in a rut and you need to produce something, but you're just not feeling motivated? What do you do?
There are moments, I'm not denying that there are moments where I sit there in front of the screen and I'm like, I gotta make this thing, the deadline's this weekend and I gotta make this song. And it's not coming to me. I can only respond with a story, okay? When I was in high school, so I started writing a lot of songs. Like I realized this is something I really wanted to do, right? So I was 15, 16, the Vendettas started touring and I was like, holy shit, I'm in high school and I'm making money. You know what I mean? Like there was something, I was like, this is it. This is the life for me, you know? But I saw this interview with Elvis Costello, and Elvis Costello said, I'm writing a song every day, but I misread it. Okay, I write a song every day is what I heard from him. And I went, that's it. I'm going to write a song every day. Like Elvis Costello, one of my songwriting heroes, I'm going to do it. That's it. I'm going to write. And I wrote a song every day for a year. And no matter what, even when what was coming out of me was like, I got nothing. Just write it, finish it anyway. But then at the end of the year, I reread the interview, and then I saw that he's writing a song every day. Do you know, like he's always working on a song. It's not that he writes a song a day. And I was like, oh my God. Anyway, that year I came out with, 370 songs, and not all of them were good. Actually, 90% of them were total garbage. But then there was this 10%. And the weirdest thing about the songs that was the 10% that were good and that were actually really good, that actually made me kind of famous to who I am today. I'm not saying I'm famous, but like it built my career to a place where I was earning money. I was like, oh wow, the 10% that were really good weren't always the days where I went in thinking, I'm inspired, this is happening. Some of those songs were on the days where I was forcing myself and I just was like, okay, I got to do it. It's a job. So whenever I'm blocked, I remind myself of that mentality, that philosophy of going into something and being like, this is a job. This is actually a job. Don't denigrate what people do, you know what I mean, who have to go to a job and do it. Even the days that it feels like garbage, they're hungover, they hate it, they hate their work, they hate their coworkers, they still sit there and they still force themselves to do it. And so I truly, truly power through those ruts because this is the job. And even the days that I hate it, I know that the next day I'm going to come back and be like, wow, I'm super lucky that this is what I do.
Well said, sir. Very well said.
Yeah, there you go. It comes from that story. Because honestly, it's like, and if I hadn't trained myself that year, like I think I was 16 or 15 or 16, if I hadn't trained myself to just being like every day, I was in high school and I'm like, people are like, what do you, they want to hang out, they want to have a beer, and I'd be like, no, I'm writing a song. I'm on my 4-track. I'm writing a song. And I was like, I put time aside. I get good at it. I get good at structuring tunes, knowing what my patterns, breaking out of patterns, all those kinds of things. Songwriting is an art, and it's a métier. It's like it's what we do. So
absolutely,
it's like,
man. Bring your lunchbox.
Yeah, and I treat it like that. I'm a workaholic, but I just love what I do.
Yeah, there's something about like people that are songwriters. I mean, all kinds of musicians play on and add 2 songs. Like your drummer, your bass player, or whatever will add 2 songs, but somebody has to actually sit down there and kind of come up with a song. And a songwriter, and you are a songwriter. You've made a lot of albums. I know you recorded a bunch with you mentioned it, your high school band, which it started and then continued after that, the Vendettas. Yep. Now, then you switched to a solo career. And if I'm not mistaken, I think right away you started singing in French.
Yeah, I was always, trying. I mean, at the beginning, it was 2000. So we're talking about,
wow, that's a while ago.
A long time ago now. But it was 2000 and my French was weak, but like I wasn't so strong in it, but I loved artists like Jean Leloup and Coloc, and there were all kinds of groups that I truly loved that were francophone.
Isabelle, je te déteste.
You know, it's like it's a huge influence on me, and I was like, well, I'm in Quebec and I'm playing these shows in front of francophones all the time. I might as well do 1 or 2 songs per album. So each album I would do 1 to 2 songs, and then over time, there was this one year I was like, that's it, I'm going to do a French album. And surprisingly, at that time, I can name one Anglophone that I knew, like Jim Corcoran, that I knew that was an Anglophone who sang in French. Like, I mean, this is like, I can't believe now it's happening all the time, right? People mixing French and English all the time. Like at the time, there was just Jim Corcoran, so Jim and Bertrand, and then like some of the things from my past, like that multilingual intercultural stuff, like Mimom and Morgan Tyler, which was like, I grew up. Gus was my babysitter, so when I was their mascot in their breakdance crew. I was a 5-year-old breakdancer, and they had a little
right
crew.
On. See, nobody knew this before, I'm sure.
No. This goes way back in the NDG days. But we like, I was so influenced by Gus's openness to doing stuff in French, even though he had his charming Anglo accent. He wasn't ashamed to do it. He just did it. You know, so I remember just being like, okay, if people aren't ashamed to do it, because it felt embarrassing, you know, like my accent sounds silly, but people responded really positively, and that when you, like, for me, like looking at my career, like it did okay in English, but like once I started tackling the French market too, it was like suddenly I'm reaching American and Canadian markets in some minor way, but then I would be the France market and the French market and the Quebec market, you know. So it's like you could play a lot of different areas, and it really exploded for me, at least my career. It's been a very helpful tool to be able to express myself in both.
Well, especially because like I said before, you're somebody that likes to produce, be at home. You like to play shows, but you don't necessarily want to be on the road for 6 weeks straight, you know, and this kind of thing. So in your case, that totally makes sense too, because like, you know, there's more French people than English people here. And, you know, you reached out to them and asked, basically, the way I see it is, you asked, can I stay at home and play music within this area? Are you guys with me? And they said, yeah. Right.
Oh, and don't forget, man, like the whole you know, Europe is different when you have a French single. The royalties in France pay, you know, 15 times what they pay in Canada. You know, like it's
the
unbelievable.
Government supports them too, like crazy. Hey, man, it's wild.
It's amazing. You play shows out there and things are promoted. You know, it opened up a world for me that really changed things. So. Yeah, I mean, and I still compose in French, even a lot more now than I ever did. And the 2 albums that I've been working on for this entire year, you know, I had a collection of like 26, 27 really, really good songs that they all fit together. Okay, I could have put out a 27 song album, but I split them up, and I translated one entirely into French. So I have a French album and I have an English album, and that's, you know, for the things to come in 2021. I've got 2 projects that I'm sitting on right now, and it's one in French and one in English. So I'm still doing it. It just gets less notoriety, I think, because so many people are doing it now. You get francophones singing in English, you get anglophones singing in French. You're getting a lot of those like mixed songs, just enough to get francophone radio play, and you know, just enough.
And even TV shows too. Isn't that cool? I don't. There. What is it? War of the Worlds. There's a new War of the Worlds TV show that came out. I think it's so cool, man. Half the characters are in France and half the characters are British. All right. So the English ones are speaking in English and the French are speaking in French, because I don't know about you, but I hate overdubs. I'd rather have like the subtitles. Yeah. So you can hear the actor's voice and what they're doing, because acting is an art as well, right?
For sure.
Yeah. But all that to say that I'm with you totally. There's so much more crossover and in different languages. What was that TV show? Lilyhammer. It was with what's his face, Van Zandt from Bruce Springsteen's band that was in The Sopranos as well. Little Steven Van Zandt.
Yeah,
he left Sopranos and did Lilyhammer. And I think it's Norwegian or something. And he's speaking English, everybody else speaking something else, you know? But I love that shit, man.
I love it too. And then, you know, it's that kind of internationalist appeal that's what makes Montreal too. So it's like, so for part of it, it's like, I don't even think it should be that exceptional. New Orleans, man, like New Orleans has that whole vibe too. Like that's what we love about New Orleans, right? We love the fact that it's intercultural and you know, all kinds of things are being pushed together and influencing each other. And that's what makes art great. It's when you can draw from as many sources and as many and when you can express yourself in as many languages as possible. We should see that as a complete advantage. You know?
Absolutely. I'm pretty convinced that the most multicultural cities are the cities with the most art or interesting art, for sure, because like you're drawing from different sources and making something new, you know. It's fantastic. And we are blessed to be in Montreal and, you know, have all these incredible artists. Like sometimes I do feel like maybe the English part of Montreal isn't looking at the French art as much, or the French side isn't looking at the English art as much. And then there's that middle path where people are kind of, you know, working more to get together, and that will always exist. And fine, I can't judge that either. And people are going to like what they're going to like, but it does give us an advantage. It gives you more area to explore, right?
Well, you know how it is. It's always what you're always butting heads with as an artist. And this will be true, I think, going forever, unless there's some big, huge sea change, is you're always butting up against the industry. And you're like, when I was starting out, so you know, you were talking about when I was first coming out with French records. Okay. That was the weirdest fucking time for me, because people would be like, if you went to a record store, so this is back when you actually would go to Archambault or you go to HMV to buy something, Sam the Record Man, whatever, you'd go to a store and there'd be a section. And one section was Francophone and one section was Anglophone in Quebec. There was such a separation of things. I would get calls from distributors, because I was still an indie artist. So I would get a call from a distributor saying, where do we place you? And I was like, I don't care. You figure it out, you know? And I would have my albums in
That's right. You figure it out. You sell my shit, motherfucker.
No, but I was like, what do you want me to say? It's like, I put out one French record. I'm not a Frank. You can't put me in the Francophone section. Yeah. But that Francophone album will, you know, people going for Francophone stuff, you know, are only going to go in that section. So my stuff would be divided up. Like you'd see me all over the place. The Vendettas were in a punk section or back then alternative.
Right.
And then, you know, my solo stuff would be in the folk Anglophone section, and my Francophone stuff would be in the pop Francophone section. Like it was chaos, you know, and you couldn't get all my shit in one place. So it's like that was it, and that's what you were butting up against. You were butting up against radio stations that were set up to protect a certain language, or English stations that seem to know absolutely nothing about the Francophone culture that's here. Or you would butt up against these old vestiges of the industry, these old boys clubs trying to protect everything they had for as long as they could. And I felt like it was like watching. And I still do. Every once in a while, I still see these old farts, you know, like it's like a sinking ship, and you just see them in there proudly, you know, holding on to everything, like everything they got, but it's sinking, you know. It's not going to be that way. The industry is going to change. And it's absolutely. Like, and it's always one of those things, like it was always, you know, the Vendettas were an interesting band too, because we would play with like a lot of hip hop acts too, you know, like we were playing with like Shades of Culture, and I remember touring a bit with Shades and with Zion, and people at the time, you know, we're talking about the early 2000s, there was like confusion, and it wasn't coming from the audiences and us as artists. We were open to this. The idea of Kutta and the Vendettas, it made sense. Punk rockers and reggae, you know, dancehall and punk rock has been fusing since the beginning. But it's like, it was the industry that was always like, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if this is going to, it's just like, you want to be like, look, I'm the artist. I tell you what to do. You don't tell me what to do. You're an idiot. You're some intermediary who graduated from business school. I know what people want. You know what I mean? Like I'm here performing for people and writing, and I'm here absorbing all of it. We all want to mix and mingle, and the industry is always the last place that budges.
But what's interesting right now, compared to then, what I'm totally hearing here is that you're perfectly right. Okay, because like what happened is all these major changes in the artists happened, and the industry wasn't prepared to adapt or move at all. They had very firm boxes. But here right now, today, we're seeing it again too. Like, you know how we're talking about all the streaming sites, whether it's Spotify, Apple Music, whatever it is, okay? There's all kinds of that shit. There's bigger ones and smaller ones. And they were kind of always on the side and smaller than, you know, playing live music was bigger revenue, radio was bigger revenue. But here we are in a pandemic. All of a sudden, they are the biggest.
Yeah.
But because they were so on the side, they, you know, the whole thing about, oh, Spotify doesn't pay well and stuff, nobody really cared too much because that wasn't their primary source. But now all of a sudden, we're realizing that, wait a minute, these streaming sites might end up being the primary source. So now, you know, shit has to,
they're
change,
getting away,
you know?
They're getting away with murder right now.
Just like labels did back in the day before internet. You know, it's exactly the same type of revolution.
Oh yeah, and they are going to hold on to this old model of the idea that they're not, that they're not broadcasters or something. Do you know what I mean? Like they're always going to say like it's sales, so we can, you know, you have to sign to whatever deal that we have. They're going to hold on to that right up until they drown in lawsuits. And then it's
fucking robbery. All they are is a bunch of people typing in code in a computer and choosing colors. That's all they do. This has been
the industry for forever. You get somebody coming in with some kind of innovation, some kind of like intermediary position. They go and make as much money off of the people who actually create the content, and then they fuck off with all the billions of dollars. I mean, this is what when I was first joining Twitter, I mean, like, I don't want this to be like a big bashing of new technologies. I'm on everything. Okay. I'm on every single thing.
I've peed in every corner too, man. It's okay.
I'm not in TikTok yet, but you know,
I just downloaded the app. I didn't open it or sign in, but I did download the app today.
Well, get ready for like dance routines and stuff.
Yeah. I don't think I'm going to go all the way.
But I remember when I got up on Twitter, I was like, okay, so when is Twitter going to start paying us for all this content? You know, because it's like, man, you're the first person I ever heard say that. And does that make sense? Yes, it does. Of course it does. You should be paid when you're on there. You're publishing, it's like a blog or opinions. You're publishing your shit. You're making somebody billions and billions and billions of dollars.
Without you, me, anybody in the world, they would not even exist.
They could be paying us even like a minimal salary to have an account, and they would still be billionaires. It's just like, it's an incredibly frustrating system, but this is the way it's gone. Look at MySpace. Look at all the Napster. Remember, like, there's always some shitty new thing that lasts 10 years, 20 years, and then it disappears.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I can't wait for the moment where we're looking back on Facebook and we're like, remember that thing, Facebook? And we'd be like, man, there were like congressional hearings, and you know, like people were talking about it, like, and that guy Zuckerberg, remember, and he's some billionaire living in LA, you know, and it turns
out he was an alien.
yeah, he was one of the lizard people.
That's right, exactly. You know, we all knew it, but nobody would actually come out and say it, right?
Alex Jones was right. Yeah. But yeah, it's always been that way, and it's free market capitalism. It's a problem.
Listen. You're busy as hell, and I know we still have a bit of time here, but I want to know what you're up to now and what's coming up, man. Because like we could look backwards, but you know what? Fuck the past. All right, you have tons of albums that are all awesome. Everybody out there, he has tons of albums that are all awesome. What's coming up next?
Thanks. I'm gonna put that in my press kit.
That's right.
So right now. Me and my brother came out with records. So me and my brother have a group called Skinny Bros.
Nice.
And we somehow, and it was a Herculean effort to do this, but we miraculously put out an album in December. And right on the pulse of things too. The first song was Trouble, and it's about Trump and all this stuff. It's an album called The Beginning and the End. But it's a really cool project because we always work with other artists. So other people are singing. We don't ever sing. So it's always featuring different artists, incredible talent from Montreal. So Skinny Bros, I'm in the process of kind of promoting that online. And we've been doing a lot of promotion in that regard. But you know, how much can you really promote right now?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
and motivation.
Exactly. But we had to put it out because we had to, because we're just, it was there, and we worked so hard to finish it, and it should come out now.
And if you don't, it's just going to be blocking you from your next thing, right? Because you have to get that done.
You don't want it to sit there and then it to feel irrelevant to you, and then so that's coming out, and I produced last year, right before the lockdowns, right before COVID hit. I had produced a song for Maxi Priest, actually.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah, which came out this year. So it's another song and album that's doing really well. And it's a song with Maxi Priest and Jonathan Emile. So I produced Jonathan Emile, his record. I did, there's an album I produced for Clarel, which is still to come out. So he is going to be dropping it this year. It's an R&B album, and it's so good. It's like some blend of like, Sam Cooke and Daniel Caesar, kind of some blend somewhere in there. And like I said, I have 2 records in the can. So they're sitting and ready to go. I can't talk about it too much yet because there's all kinds of things in the works.
Doing some tequila.
Well, it's good stuff. Like, and possibly my best work, which I say every time before I put out a record, but truly,
it's new, baby.
But it is in some ways like this culmination of this weird year where I really worked the studio side of things, and the songwriting is, I feel very confident in my songwriting. So if you like my stuff, you'll like it. But the production is A1. Like, I'm very, very proud of this. So currently promoting Skinny Bros, which is a great album, promoting Montreal artists, which I love to do. And Clarel's album coming out, and my solo shit that's
it's ready, eh?
It's ready. Now, can I say when it's coming out? Not at all.
Yeah, no, I feel it. Like I said at the start of the show, man, we're booking shows right now that I don't even know if they're gonna happen or not, because like we don't know how long this thing's gonna go on. But when you're saying we have to plan these things 6 to 8 months in the future. Well, the reality is that as soon as the green light is on, every single band in the world is going to want to book a show that day.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to kind of book ahead as well, because once the green light's going, every venue is going to be booked for a year.
That's absolutely true.
It's wild, man.
It's going to be a booking market at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully somebody will think about opening up some new venues, right? Because there's going to be some gaps around there as well.
It's going to be a rough re-entry for sure.
Yeah. Like 2 questions for you, Paul.
Yeah.
2 questions to end this off with.
Okay.
You're stuck on an island. Name me 3 albums that everybody should listen to at least once in their life.
Wow. Okay. So I think that I would say Los Lobos this time. No, I would say Los Lobos. This time. I don't know if you know that record by Los Lobos.
I don't know it, but I'm gonna go check it out now.
Okay, I would say the posthumous Prince album. Do you remember the posthumous Prince album that came out after he died, about his demos, all the demos that he had written for other people
from the vault, right?
Yeah, this album is so beautiful. It's like his solo piano stuff. I absolutely loved it.
The thing I love about Prince is his popular stuff, but how he had those underground, like that Black Album Come, it was called, with Papa on it. It was all weird and eerie. He did that on the side, Oh,
he is absolutely brilliant. I love everything he's done.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for Prince. And the third one would be Nina Simone, Pastel Blues.
There you go. And the final question, guilty pleasure album.
Oh my God. I can't even tell you how guilty I can go.
I'm sure, because we all do.
Yeah. I would say, okay, so when my son was younger, he got LMFAO, that one with I'm Sexy and I Know It and all that stuff.
Yeah, man.
You know what? I still think that record is great.
Paul, it's beautiful seeing your face, my man. Never stop. I know you want. I know even if we tied you up, you wouldn't stop. And fucking, we'll get you back on here another time as well, because it was great to see your face. And just don't change, brother. Have a great one.
See you too, man.
Peace.
Boom! Came and don't know shit.